welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. All links can be found in the description for everything we discuss, so let's get on with it. So, this week we have 10 for the Chairman and the Around the Verse, as always. We have the live stream, which happened on the 19th, and I'll briefly explain what we can see in version 1.0 of this new Arena Commander patch. So, 10 for the Chairman, we had Chris Roberts back from Manchester, as he was over there discussing with the Squadron 42 lot about the mocap shoot and what's going to happen with that, and I expect a lot of other details to do with Squadron 42. Now, it turns out that the mocap group they're using, or the company they're using, is called Imaginarium, and it's Andy Serkis's company, this is. And if you don't know who Andy Serkis is, he played Gollum in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. He's also the apes, I think he'll be a lot of the apes in Planet of the Apes, so he's got a lot of experience in that area, and apparently it's a really detailed bit of software they're using where it really picks up everything in the facial expressions, and it might be a completely different thing. Anyway, carry on. Let's get to the questions. I think I've included the majority of them because they are very good questions. So the first question, will we be able to use the Carrack, which is a science-orientated ship, with its non-combat equipment to distract, disarm or otherwise overcome opponents? Chris Roberts explains that we have things like electronic countermeasures, which on a capital ship it'll be a separate station for like maybe an officer, a countermeasures officer to control and decide what to do there, but on smaller ships I reckon there'll be plugins that you can use. But he says not necessarily the Carrack, with it being a smaller ship. Capital ships, yes, and he said he cannot say 100% yet because they don't know, basically. And during this question he did reveal a few of the bits, and to do with the ship modularity, when they were going to reveal that to us, I think it's going to be the Avenger and the Cutlass, because that's the ones they're working on at the moment. And the plugins for these, you have radar, CPU, a targeting computer, your lights, which obviously I expect would be your headlights in a sense, plus your lights inside the ship. So maybe that would come into a really good use of gameplay if you were being boarded and you had night vision goggles, or you were quite capable of manoeuvring in the dark without bumping into things. Then you could turn off your own lights while these boarders are coming in, and if they haven't got the night vision goggles, they're going to be screwed. They won't know where they're going. It could also work vice versa. I mean, could you knock out the lights on a ship before you board them if you've got night vision goggles? So there's a lot of different defensive and offensive gameplay moments coming in there. Other plugins, we have weapons, missiles, shields, power plants, thrusters, your cooling system, and they all connect via like a pipe system. Same with the electromagnetic countermeasures as well. It'll plug in and it'll just be connected depending on what system it uses. And fuel as well is one of them. So he did say that version 1.0 also allows some stealth gameplay, which sounds very good. It sounds like 1.0 is going to be a big learning curve. If you've been playing for a while, or if you're new to the game, it's going to be difficult to get to grips. So I'd suggest going into free flight. This is what I'll do. I'll go into free flight, get used to the ship and everything that's new with the ship, then maybe test it out in Vandal Swarm, test out the different targeting systems, your cooling system, because you can go off radar. If you were being targeted, you'll have different countermeasures. You can hide behind rock asteroids and things like that, so get used to it and then go online, rather than diving straight into online, and hoping that it's going to go well, because it probably wouldn't. Anyway, next question. What happens if you fail to navigate a jump point? Now, this is a good question because we know that the Carrack in itself is a sort of a jump point navigator. You can record the jump points while flying through it, because obviously, if you don't know, if you find a jump point that hasn't been navigated before, you will have to map that jump point out by flying through it and making sure you don't deviate from the set path of that jump point. It sounds like it will be quite difficult. I expect they'll vary in difficulty depending on size and scale of them, but basically what will happen if you slip out, if you miss a turn and you go the wrong way and you get released from the jump point? So the answer was that they have several ideas and options. One of them being that you will be spat out at a random location and you'll have to try and figure out where you are. It may be a location that's probably not mapped. I don't know how it'll work. It said it depends on where you are in the persistent universe as to where you'll be spat out. But also number two is you will perish. Your ship will blow up. I think, if you're travelling faster than light through this jump point and you suddenly come out into normal speed, then you're likely your insides anyway would probably just implode on your ribcage and so forth. So it doesn't sound nice. But yeah, he also said if you get spat out as well, then you may sustain some damage if it was, if you didn't die, basically. Your ship will have damage, you might lose some health. And again, it depends on the kind of jump and the turbulence of the jump point. So, good question, and I expect there's a lot more to be sussed out in that. So the next question, again, another good question, sort of a two-parter. A is, will players be able to operate factories which produce alien technology? And B being, how does a factory even get founded in the first place? So, if you don't know, there will be some sort of factory nodes out there in the persistent universe that if you earn enough money, you can then buy and produce technology. I expect it'll be like a process line, a normal factory producing maybe weapons or ships, and then you will earn an income from that. Majority of people will be organisations that own it, as they will have the biggest income. It would be difficult for one player early on in the persistent universe to get enough cash together, I expect. But anyway, he says they're not 100% sure about whether or not you'll be able to create alien technology, because they, I expect, will have their own ways and methods of producing this. He did explain that for, how a foundry gets founded, there's going to be a limited number of factories out there. I think they'll all be currently AI controlled, so NPC controlled, and 10% of those factories will have the potential to be player run. So what will happen is you'll probably find them over time. You get enough money, then you buy it off of an NPC, and then you gain all the assets from that, and you have your outgoings, your incomings. You've got to obviously collect materials, raw materials to do that. It is a very much thriving economy by the sounds of it, or unthriving depending on where you are. But he also explains that over time, we heard last week that about player homes, that colonies can be made on planets, and then you will see them grow. You'll need to supply them and help them grow, basically. But he did say that if planets expand, maybe already known planets or persistent, procedurally generated planets that we get to play on later in the game as the game development goes on, slots for economic nodes, which are the factories, will grow, and there might be one, like a new one on a planet that will be available for players. I think the way it's going to work a lot is that you'll get the initial persistent universe, and it'll be quite small, large in itself, but small in how it's planning to be, and then over time, we'll have new things brought in, like DLC style. So he did say it'll be like a really living world. And if you think like to Test Drive, have you ever played Test Drive? When I was driving around on Test Drive 2, and I noticed there was this bike shop coming soon sign, and like a little shop, and I thought, what the hell? So over time, they introduced the bike shop to this place where you could buy motorcycles. I expect it'll be like that. You'll see a sign saying new planet found, or factory found, or new accommodation here, and then over time, you'll see it being built up, maybe in construction, and then eventually it'll be complete once they've got all the assets ready for it, and it'll be revealed. So I'm hoping it'll be like that. So like a real world where it's being built up as you are flying around it. So next question. Will the comms officer or station be able to scan and listen to other players or NPCs ship-to-ship communications or EVA communications, and can we encrypt them or hack the signal? And Chris says yes. The plan is that you can obviously hail ships, or you can break and eavesdrop on opposing teams. So that will be in itself a mini game. If you're in a ship-to-ship battle, quite a large-scale one, you can use the comms officer to hear other ships talking to each other. If you're against real players, you'll hear them. You can encrypt it, or break and eavesdrop into their communications and hear what their plan of attack is, and then their comms officer will probably have to try and stop you from doing that, and vice versa. It's going to be a very in-depth sort of system, just the comms on itself. He did say there'll be different levels of encryption, and depending on the comms array of your ship or the CPU for it, etc., will depend on how good you can do this, how well you can do this. But also, I think, unlike normal RPGs where your skill level will go up, and then you'll be able to do something better, I think what will happen is it will be down to the skill of the actual person. There isn't going to be a sort of like skill tree that you can raise up. It's going to be more that you will either be good at that or you'll be bad at that, which I think is brilliant, because then it'll naturally allow people to become useful and more valuable in the game. So the next question was, what tools will organisations have to track expenses, track ship uses, supplies and missions, etc.? And Chris says that organisations will have, they'll be able to pay members for certain missions that they've gone out and done. They can tax members maybe to be a part of that organisation. You'll have your own bank account. And he did sort of stress that it's very early days, and what we see so far is nothing compared to what it's going to be like. There'll be website control that we know of now to a certain degree, and then there will be in-game control. But he said it's just too soon to tell what it will involve. But again, like everything they seem to be putting out there, it'll be in depth, it'll be interesting, it'll be fun. So he did say you should be able to have full control of your organisation, so that should happen. So next question, how will snub fighters launch from capital ships? Now, will it be like Battlestar Galactica, for instance, which I've just started watching? He says they don't have like launch tubes. We've seen the Bengal carrier with its platform, like a carrier sort of platform where all the ships are being fixed, ready to be deployed. He did say they're more likely to be sort of quick launch areas, which is what the Bengal has, and also he mentioned the Panther, which is another capital ship for the UEE, which we haven't seen yet. But I think he's saying it's mainly going to be flight deck. But again, maybe down the line he says there may be some rails that they shoot off from. It depends on the design of the ship. If the design is like the Bengal carrier, then it'll just be a dock area where you would lift up and take off from. We'll see. So next question is, how will the AI in the persistent universe interact? Do we need to initiate all conversations, or will they approach us? And he says the goal is that the AI will be active, not passive. So for instance, if we often see things like games where someone is just stood around waiting for you to approach them, then when you do, it initiates a mission. It's not going to be like that. He says we don't have to approach them, they will engage you. He says this is a core part of the AI metadata. And Squadron 42 AI will have like a personality. They'll be making a coffee or chilling out on a bunk, he says, quoted. And they may come up and say something to you. Or if you're passing, they may just talk to you about something. It's going to be dynamic. It's not just going to be you go up to him and say something and then your mission starts. He says there will be some sort of script-based AI that may seek you out if you ever go planet-side. He didn't really go into much detail about this, but he did say that Squadron 42 will really show us how the AI is likely going to work in the persistent universe. So we shall see when that happens. So the next question, a cool little question, but I think the answer's quite obvious. It's, if I have a planet-side hangar, can I leave the hangar and go to the shops or to the pub, etc.? And also, what if you have an asteroid hangar? Will I need to take a shuttle? He says if you leave your normal hangar that is planet-side, then yes, I think what will happen is you'll go into some corridors where the hangar is, and then you'll eventually go to the city streets, wherever it may lead out from. Or maybe if it's out in the sticks, you get a shuttle into the main city area. But that's for planet side. Now, for asteroid hangars, the hangars are mainly going to be sort of pirate hangars. So there may be a lot of hangars, which we didn't know before. I didn't know that anyway. There may be a lot of asteroid hangars in one area, which is like a pirate community, which will have its own shops, its own pubs, like a black market maybe, but there will not be necessarily a shuttle, because it is for these. It's not likely that a bus or a shuttle would fly to and stop off at a pirate outpost. It said it's just not likely to happen. So you would have to take your own ship to go to a different location if you needed to go to the shops. He says there will be public transport that we know of. We've unlocked one of the ships. It's going to be a huge sort of carrier ship that hopefully holds thousands. Doubt it though, considering that you can only have so many players in one instance, so it'll hold maybe up to 100, but yeah, so it won't generally stop at asteroid locations or pirate outposts. You'll have to make your own way if you have the asteroid hangar, but there may be a community there already with pubs, shops and things to get. So swings and roundabouts really. Now the next question is probably my favourite out of the lot. It's, how much support will a dropship pilot be able to provide to deployed troops? Will he be able to use motion sensors, check vital signs, or have helmet cams and etc.? And obviously we're thinking about the Redeemer, which is a dropship. You drop down, you drop off a load of troops. Technically you would then probably fly off, maybe given some cover with your weapons if it's a hot LZ, and then you're away, and then if they need picking up again, you'll come down, shoot again, pick them up and then fly off. Now Chris explains that this is how it's generally going to work, but he did say it sounds really cool and he wants to implement things like motion sensors. So if he referenced the film Aliens, and you have your vital signs of each of your crew members while they're in the firefight, or you've dropped them off, you can stay on the platform, study their vital signs, make sure they're alright, maybe have helmet cams. He said it's not too difficult to do, so it sounds like it's going to be implemented, maybe not first thing, but if it's not that difficult, then it does sound like something that needs to get in there quick, because I love the sound of that. So like Aliens, if you've got 4 crew in there, you've just dropped off 4 people, you've got all the vitals and the helmet cams, they're going off, they go in pairs, one person suddenly dies and their heartbeat sensor drops to to the beep, then, you know, you're thinking, what's happened to here? You can contact the other ones and say, Jeffries is down, go and check him out, or whatever, you know, and if you call Jeffries, I don't mean any offence, it was just a random name, and then they'll go and check him out. I think that is a brilliant game aspect, and I think that would really lay a hand to just being a pilot of a dropship, rather than just dropping them down, flying off again. Really cool. So the last question is, once Squadron 42 is done and the Persistent Universe is live and running, is there any plans for other single-player campaigns, maybe non-military or as alien species? And Chris Roberts says yes, definitely. Long term, there is so much planned for it. They may not have it all down on paper now because they're obviously getting out what they promised so far, but he did say ages ago that this game is going to be like a 10-year project. They're going to keep the servers running, and as long as people are playing it, they're going to keep putting in new stuff. So there will be DLC for single-player missions, non-military and military. He didn't specify anything about alien species, playing as an alien species, but you never know. Who knows what he's got planned? This is Chris Roberts, after all. But anyway, that's 10 for the chairman. I hope you liked it, because I loved it. Let me know your thoughts. Give me any questions or any comments about it. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, so on Around the Verse number 25, we had Sandy and Ben as always. They started by talking about ship stats being fixed. So if you go on the website now and you go to the ship specs page, a lot of them have been updated. They didn't specify which, and they are still subject to change, as they keep telling us. But you can see now really in depth how things are. And I mean, if you're an Aurora owner, have a read of the brochure where it tells you the exterior and the interior features. And when you read these things, I would safely say that a lot of these features are real things that we will see in the verse that you can swap out. So they may say like this beautiful glass or this certain brand name glass that works really well for visibility. I mean, that might not be able to be swapped out, but certain things will. So have a look. It really excited me about my ship. So yeah, check it out. So they also saved a Wing Commander prop. Now, Wing Commander was one of the games that Chris Roberts first created. It was probably back in the 80s, was it? Or the 90s? I don't know. Tell me in the comments. But yeah, and they found this prop, which was a wall, in someone's... I think someone was getting rid of it or selling it off, so Ben Lesnick got one of the backers to drive him down in a van, and they salvaged it. They managed to save it from going to the scrap heap. So, news from around the verse, starting with Arena Commander. They are pushing for 1.0, and as of today, Sunday, they're done. 1.0 is out. Get on there. I will do a separate video for it because it is an epic patch. Not to mention, I have just recently bought the Mustang Beta-3, which is the little camper van version, and it is just incredible. I didn't even realise it was in the hangar yet, and it's hangar ready. You can get in there, you can sit in the back, you can sit on the toilet, it even has its own little toilet. And I did say before that I'm not going to buy one. We'll get into it later. I'll do a separate video reviewing the Beta-3. I'm still yet to fly it anyway, so let's continue with Around the Verse rather than digressing. So, blood splattering inside helmet has been worked on. So this is when you're flying, if you take a big hit or whatever, maybe even... Oh no, this is for Arena Commander, isn't it? So you'll see blood splatters on the side. New missile and signature system is completed. Now there will be a post up later. They didn't say when, but it should be coming. They've broken up now as of the 19th, but they're still going to release daily updates throughout the week, even though they're not there. But one of them will probably be the signature system. All the new missiles. If you go to Voyager Direct on the website, which is their in-fiction shop, you can buy guns, missiles, all different types of missiles. There are some really incredible missiles out there, which all have benefits and disadvantages to signatures locking on. Some of them are dumbfire ones, some of them are lock on. Get on there and have a read of them, because you can now outfit your ships to fly in version 1.0. Cinematic spectator mode for gun and pilot is almost fully implemented. Now, whether or not this was going in for version 1.0, I believe it probably will be, so you should be able to use those cameras now. This is purely for really cool cinematic views. If you're someone who likes creating videos of Star Citizen, you can use these camera views to really hone in on the detail, the level of detail that they put into the game, because it really deserves it, because it is such a beautiful game, it really is. So, Squadron 42, the AI Defense Command is being worked on. They now respond to being attacked, which is a good thing, rather than just standing there and being shot at. Conversation system is ongoing, and I'm sure we'll see more about that when the time permits. The Persistent Universe, the medic work is continued, and this can be an NPC or even a player career path. So if you are wanting to be a medic, they are working on the proper career path for you, so you can take that. There will be NPCs who are medics and will probably fly around in the Cutlass Red and help you if you are, I don't know, injured in space, or you've been in a battle and been left to die. But yeah, it's going to be a full career path if you so choose to do that. Asteroid modelling and texturing continued the research and development for them. And they sort of explain that there's going to be a really impressive mining mechanic. So they are working on the asteroids because it's more in depth than, you know, you land and then you sort of hammer away at it and then get so much every so often. It's a very in-depth system, which we are still to see about. Hopefully that'll be one of the posts they put up, because I'd love to be a miner in the PU. Artcore Barman has been revised, and I'll show you some pictures if I can get them. They are no longer all wearing cargo pants, as on Facebook, on Sandy's Facebook the other week, Chris Roberts posted a post, or put up a comment saying, you know, why does everyone on Artcore seem to be wearing cargo pants? Can we have no more cargo pants? And now they are more smartly dressed in certain areas. I think there'll be a lot of customizations for characters. Ships. So the Cutlass thrusters have been cleaned up to fly properly, and I have seen some footage of the Cutlass in the Persistent universe, and my god, it's crazy. The rear thrusters, I don't know if I like it or I dislike it. The rear thrusters move, obviously. Well, every thruster on the ships move to to navigate your course, but these thrusters at the back, the huge thrusters, they spin. And they spin very quickly, and to me they look too vulnerable. You know, if you fly into one of them and knock one off by accident, or if you hit it into an asteroid, then your manoeuvrability is going to be half as good as it was. So if you're a Cutlass owner, you've got to protect yourself, because if I was going against a Cutlass, I'm going to aim for those bad boy thrusters and get them knocked off, because then you'll be able to be like a sitting duck, or a spinning duck maybe. So Avenger damage states have been completed, and they are now in system. They are in the no, they're not, sorry, they're in the version 1.0, so you can see the Avenger, or the Flying Penguin, and you can see the Cutlass. Check out some videos. I haven't done any yet because I don't own the ships, but check them out. Really cool ships. Now, they also mentioned that the Mustang Alpha and Gamma are almost finished, and it's the last two that will all be flyable in the PU. The fucking PU. That'll all be flyable in version 1.0, and I forgot about that when I bought the beta, because I was adamant that it wasn't going to be ready, and then I got into the hangar and I thought, wow, really cool ship. Anyway, moving on again, I'm digressing. So, FPS. Mag boot animations have received improvements, speak for themselves. Light attachment for helmet. Now, this is something, obviously, you can get light attachments for your gun, but there'll be one on your helmet. It'll be like a plug-in, I assume. I'm not sure if every helmet will come as standard with a torch, but they're now implementing them into the helmets, which is really cool, especially if you're wearing a Rift, the Oculus Rift, and you're using your actual head to turn and look. It will be more responsive than using your mouse when you are in FPS. Visual effects improvements for the laser rifle tracer, trail, and muzzle flash. So it looks like they're really fine-tuning these weapons. This is the rifle, not a ship attachment. It's for the handheld rifle. So your tracer is obviously the bullet tracer is, you know, you can, if one's, every so often, every bullet will, in a magazine, every fourth or the third to last bullet will be a tracer, so you can see that you're coming to the end, or you can just see where you're firing. That was a long-winded way of explaining a tracer, wasn't it? Trail, I don't know what that could mean, and muzzle flash is obviously your muzzle flashing as each shot is fired, so it looks realistic, and I expect it looks really beastly too. So after news from around the verse, we had a different post, which was from Darian Vorlik and Travis Day, who are the producers for CryEngine, and it was called, the post was titled Version 1.0 Crunch Time, and this was from the LA office, and they were talking about what they do before a patch is launched, and they basically just literally polish everything, you know, polish all the features, get all the features they want in, choose the ones that they don't think would be necessary or they haven't got finished. It's the last hour judgment, so they're looking at it, fine-tuning it, making sure everything is ready to be done. Why they do this is to make sure that all is polished as much as possible so that they meet expectations, not only of our expectations, but of Chris's, of the people developing them and creating these things. They have their own expectations, and when you work for someone like Chris, who has these great expectations which are never letting any of us down, I feel so anyway, then your level of expectation for yourself will go up. So that's why we are getting such a cool game out of here, much better than what we've seen in other games, because they just have such a high standard to it. And also they need to make sure that people aren't overdoing it, because a lot of people, they say, will literally sit at their computers for 20 hours at end because they're so passionate about it. but they've got to obviously maintain their staff's mental sanity and make sure no one burns out. So I think there was an incident, I think Travis was saying that he literally had to say to someone, if you don't go home and sleep, I will throw your computer out of the window because we need you at your full potential. And obviously it can really damage someone. I'm sure we've all been there when we've played games and you literally don't want to come off, and then you realise it's like 7 in the morning and you start work at 9 and you think, crap, I need to end the game. But yeah, just pull a sickie, it's much better. So they also mentioned in this post that they are doubling the number of ships. The ships we have in so far are being doubled. There's twice as many ships, and it shows. And I can't wait until we can start earning in-game, like, Arena Commander currency so that we can start buying these ships and buying these weapons and testing them out, really. But after that, we had the most valuable post, or most valuable crab, and it was Mr. Combustible, who had 3D printed the crab. What do you call it? The Torshu crab, is it? The little crab we see. I've got one in my fish tank. He's at the beginning. He's famous, really, because he's at the beginning of the Connie commercial. And yeah, he's literally 3D printed this, I wouldn't say life scale, because we don't really know what scale he is, but pretty cool. He's also got a freelancer 3D print as well, which is even better. So, Bug Smashers with Marker Bent, and it was to do with the Max Ox weapon, which is a new weapon that we haven't seen yet, which is now available, I believe, in the Voyager Direct, and its burst fire was not working correctly. When you put your finger down on the trigger, it should fire one burst of ammunition, but what it was doing was it was firing it when he lifted his finger. So he'd put his finger down, nothing would happen, lift it, it would fire. So he had to alter that around. So if you're a Bug Smasher, check it out, it'll explain to you how you do that. So James Pugh interviewed Brandon Evans, who is the UI designer, and he was answering questions from the community. So if you want to hear what he has to say, check it out. Now, they said there's going to be a surprise next week. They didn't specify what. The website content, as I said, will still be up over the holidays, despite all the staff being away. There will not be an Around the Verse, and there will not be a 10 for the Chairman, as they are on holiday, and everything is sort of pre-done to be uploaded certain times. So they're not going to record one, but they did say there will be a surprise video. They return on January the 8th, and I believe that is the same for customer service, so if you have any questions, hold off if you can for then. I know they've put out a new patch, and there's lots of questions. I know when I opened one of my cabin doors inside the Mustang, it disappeared, and when I got out the ship, it was hovering above it somehow, which is a Q&A thing, so I'll put that up there. But yeah, wait until the 8th if you can, before you contact them. There may be people around to answer questions, but I don't think they can guarantee that. So the sneak peek is a very unusual piece of tech. To me, it looks Vandal. It has that sharp, menacing look to it, and I mean, to me it could either be something like a boarding device where it shoots into it and clings on and then you go through the door, but I can't see the exit for it, so it might not be. It could be some sort of sensor that is shot out. It could be really tiny, that's shot out and sticks into a ship as a tracker, or some sort of sensor disruptor, which I've written down in my mad thoughts thinking what it could be. Or it could just be a new weapon. It could be a mine, a cluster mine that is fired out, clings into your ship and then explodes. Who knows, but it does look cool. It could even be a huge ship. There is no scale as to what size it is. But anyway, that's Around the Verse. Let's move on. So, the infamous live stream which happened on the 19th, it started at about 6 o'clock, and it was actually nearly 5 hours long. I was going to make notes on it, but to be honest, after hearing it was that long, I decided against it, and as I was drinking beer at the time, I think the notes wouldn't be very coherent anyway, so I gave up on that idea. It wasn't too in-depth, there wasn't much we hadn't heard of already. Basically, they started by going around every single studio, starting with Foundry 42, as obviously being in England, they were needing to get off home. And we just went to every single studio and just discussed where they're up to, what they're doing, what they've got planned, and it was interesting, but it isn't really anything we haven't heard already, so don't worry, if you missed it, you didn't miss much. They did reveal the Mustang commercial, which I shall put up if I've timed it well now. If not, then some other time during the video. And they also released all the Mustangs to be hangar ready and flight ready for version 1.0, which was released after the live stream at about 11 o'clock. And unfortunately, it was a 2-hour download, so I had to leave it overnight. But anyway, there was a fan-made video which was called Imagine. Now this, I'm not sure when it was done, but it takes a lot of what we've seen, well, everything, all the footage we've seen, all the in-game footage, and it just puts it to some music. Really cool video. But what Star Citizen did, or CIG did, they took it, they added bits to it, and they got copyrights for the music. So Again, I'll play that throughout this video. You'll see it. It's very, very cool. Some really nice footage as well. Stuff that I haven't seen before as well. But that was basically the live stream. Nothing too exciting happening. There was a battle between Chris and Aaron at the start where they showed off the lobby system and they invited other developers in to play, so you can now invite. I will do a complete show through of version 1.0. I'll do sort of a how to, how to get used to it, how to play, how to fly, how to manage your systems, just so that, if you're new and you're new to flying, don't be worried. We'll go through it. But yeah, and it was a pretty good little battle. There was lots going on. After that, there was the battle between Ben and Sandy, which has been announced for a while. They keep saying that if whoever loses will have to wear the backwards Star Citizen badge for the next, I think it was their Christmas dinner or their Christmas drinks party, which was that night. And Sandy lost. It was slightly one-sided, as Sandy didn't really know which direction she was going in. Funnily enough, she was using the joystick I had and said it was crap. Thanks, Sandy. But yeah, it was a bit embarrassing for her, really, and she was getting a bit frustrated. But if you're not used to the system, you're not used to the controllers, then you're gonna struggle, aren't you? But yeah, so that was it for the live stream. So as you know by now, the Arena Commander patch version 1.0, which is basically the first alpha, proper alpha of the game, or of the Arena Commander, has been released. Now, there are some issues with it. I will do a full video on, or a separate video on the 1.0, as I'll just briefly cover what's involved today in this video. But yeah, when it was released at about 11 o'clock. It was roughly about 2 to 3 hour download. I left mine overnight, so it was ready for me in the morning, and it played really well. Everything went fine, and then a few hours later, obviously it was difficult to connect due to server issues, as everyone was trying to get on it at the same time. But the people are now experiencing a thing where you get a pop-up with a grey box before it's even loaded into the hangar, where it'll say login error and something like connection error or something along those lines, or even just a black screen. Now, CryEngine know about this and they are trying to fix it. Currently they have something where every half hour, so on the hour and on the half hour, they reset their servers, which then kicks everyone out of the game, but you can then rejoin again. And it's more of a failsafe. It works occasionally, but doesn't work every time. But if you are playing and it's coming up to the hour, you will be kicked and you would have to re-log in again. Now, as I said, it's not the final fix. There will be more to it when they have researched it more, but it's playable. And what 1.0 brings, there is an actual full manual. It's about 50 to 60 pages with everything you need to know about it. It's got information on how to fly, all the signatures, the new weapons, the new ships. It also tells you about the enemy Vandal, the primes, the elites, and tells you a little backstory for each of them. Like there's Little King is the first wave, and then you get someone else right down to the 18th wave, and it tells you a little backstory about each of these characters. Really interesting, but a lot of reading. So there is twice as many ships involved now. We know about the Mustangs, the Avenger, the Cutlass have all been added, so these are all flyable. Not every variant of the Avenger and the Cutlass is there, but it will be coming in sooner or later, most likely after the holidays, as they have broken up now. But every Delta variant is there, and again I've got the Beta-3, so I'll do a full walkthrough of the Beta-3. There is a lot more new guns, there is more missile racks, and with the missile racks, make sure that they fit your ship, because people have been buying racks assuming they'll just be universal, but there are a couple of variants of racks. So you have to really read them and make sure that they are going to fit to your ship rather than buying one and realising it doesn't fit, because customer service is not there either, so I don't know if you can get a refund on it. There's also loads and loads of new missiles as well. Don't just dive in and buy the first one you see. Read it, see what you think. I always think it's a good idea to have an energy weapon and a ballistic weapon side by side, as I think ballistics or energy is good for getting down your shield and ballistics are good for piercing armour. So you need one to, use one, then use the other once you've got the shield off. So just have a read of them, because they are in depth. It tells you a lot about them. It tells you the rating. Really cool weapons there. Very, very cool. So the HUD has been reworked as well, and the Aurora apparently has a more finalised HUD than anything else. It's pretty much how it's going to look for, well, definitely for the Aurora, but other ships will have a similar feature. I'll do a fly-through with my Aurora as well, and I'll do, a comparison between the Aurora and the Mustang. I'll do a separate video on that, so you can see the different HUDs. And it's cool, you can actually interact with them, you can turn things, you can turn your whole ship off and just be sat in space, and then, when you reboot it again, you hear it sort of rise up. Really cool. Signature systems have been implemented now as well. You've got electromagnetic, infrared and cross-section. Again, when I do the video, I'll go into more detail about them, but electromagnetics and infrared are what your ship and its components are giving off, which is what a missile will lock onto, so it's about managing them. Your cross-section is basically like the silhouette that you're giving off. If you're facing someone head-on, they're less likely to see you than if you were flat with your full body pushing out and being able to be seen. So there's more to it. You can hide behind asteroids to take cover from imposing missiles. There's a lot to it, so I'll just briefly cover it now, as we have done, and I'll do a completely separate video when I have the time. So also this week we met with the writer called Will Weisbaum in Meet the Devs. There was a new fictitious post called Data Cache, which I haven't read yet. There was also a post to do with Elite Dangerous. I don't know if you know, but Elite Dangerous is another sort of space game. It's not as in-depth as Star Citizen is, but it does look very fun. And Chris Roberts put up a post, as it has now been released, congratulating them on their release and saying that he had been a backer of it and he was looking forward to it, and now he's happy because he can play it, which is nice to see, because obviously they're a game in the same genre. I don't think you can really compare them because they're completely different games with completely different backstories and, you know, development histories. But it's nice to see that he's congratulating them rather than trying to ignore them, because, you know, got to help each other out. Now, there was a new lore builder, which is to do with music. So what music will we see in the Persistent universe? You know, what bands, names, the era of them, the style. So if you've got any ideas, get in there and pitch them to them. Now, this is the last one for lore builder, as they are going to leave it for a little while. They will come back to it, I expect, if, you know, they can think of anything they need help with creating. But for now, they're going to leave it at that. There is a new jump point for subscribers. I haven't read mine yet, but I shall probably do it while I poo and while I'm at work bored. So that'll take some time. Now, the Robert Space Industries website has changed. They keep mentioning and they keep updating it every now and again. They're trying to make it more user-friendly for new backers, as they get a lot of feedback saying it's very difficult to navigate. I may do a sort of quick video on how to navigate through the website. Let me know if you're interested in seeing that, or otherwise, you know, you might be fine at doing it yourself. It can get complicated. I mean, it's more complicated now for me because it's changed, but, you know, I'll get used to it. But yeah, let me know if you want me to do a quick sort of how-to on the webpage. It might help you out, it might not. So we saw some images for the newly designed Idris and the Pegasus, which is an escort carrier within the UEE. I'll put up the pictures now so you can see what they look like. I'll start with the Idris and then move on to the other one. It looks very, very big, does the Pegasus. And there are probably going to be some more UEE ships that we haven't seen yet, so stay tuned for them. There is a post for all the events of 2015 for CIG, and it looks like in October CitizenCon is coming to Manchester. For the past few years it's been, or the past 2 years, it's been in LA, so I'm very happy it's in Manchester. I intend on being there, provided all goes well and I have money. So yeah, if you're going, let me know and we'll meet up and have a beer and swap Arena Commander stories. Chris is at BAFTA, which is the British Awards for Film and Television, and he is presenting an award to someone, which is pretty cool, so he may be on the TV soon for us all to see. There is new merchandise. I'll put up some images of what's available. We've got the Squadron 42 t-shirts. There is a second wave of dog tags and the Mustang mouse mat, which is one of those really super long ones, so if you've got a tiny desk, don't buy one because it'll flop off the edges. But they're, again, really cool designs. I wish I could buy them all and just put them on the wall. And yes, the video, there was obviously, I told you in Around the Verse, it was the Imagine, about the live stream, it was the Imagine video, which was done by a fan. You may have already seen it, may not, depending on how organised I am. Right, well that's it for Star Citizen Sunday this week. Don't forget to stay tuned over the rest of the week for the other videos. I will be doing a how-to on the version 1.0 of Arena Commander. I'll be doing a Mustang video of my Beta-3, so I'll show you it all. It's a very cool ship with a little, I suppose it's like the Volkswagen camper van of spaceships, and I'll be doing a comparison between Aurora and the Mustang. So if you can't decide which starter ship to get, I'll help you decide. And I just want to say a quick thank you, or a big thank you really, for everyone who's subscribed over the past however long year, I suppose we've been doing it, and everyone who has been watching the videos, because we are now at 1,000 subscribers, which is incredible. Thank you very much. Join me again for next week, Star Citizen Sunday. Don't forget to subscribe, comment if you can be bothered, like it if you will, and share it if you will, and I shall see you in the verse.